and this thing starts a disgusting move higher. This is already up at around 8 RR. Okay, so this taps us in. Now we're looking for a reason to break even. Yeah, I mean, this is as clear as day, a reason to break even. I mean, there's nothing else to do here. So this would stop us out at that low for a gain of 8.93, which is 4.45 or so, because I want to show you guys that profitability comes from following rules, not from one asset or one specific move. It's just simply from following the same move over and over and over again. After everything is said and done, we have a gain of... All right, there we are. Hello and welcome back to mentfx. So in the last video, we actually did a full play-by-play of this market right here, looking at it across a few different markets, looking at it across the EVC guidelines, and following the overall cycle that the market is in to actually trade it. And I think we ended up coming out with 2 losses or 3 losses and 2 break-evens. So this was a really nice example of a market that we got correct. We got mostly everything correct about how it was gonna move, if it was gonna move, when it was gonna move, but despite all that, weren't able to actually trade it. So in this video, we're gonna hopefully do another one where by the end of it, we either have wins or once again, we end up with losses or break evens, because I want to show you how you should apply a process to your trading rather than assuming that you're always just going to be taking wins just because you're watching a market, which is not the case. So here is the mentfx screener. This is exactly what we used last time to look at XMTR and to study it. Now I'm gonna reload it. And once again, I'm gonna do another number between 1 and 10, same exact thing. Random number, we get 2. So we'll go with number 2 whenever this reloads. We get IONQ, and that's exactly what we're going to go with. Now, I know I've traded IONQ, and I know I've done decently on this, but nonetheless, I want to reapproach it from a very, very fair perspective, and again, walk through how I would follow this if I was to follow it. Once again, the exact same way. So in this case, I know that I'm going to be going to the beginning of the actual bullish move. I'm fully aware of that. But what I want to make really clear is that even if I went back here, we would still end up only trading around that area there, and I'll show you why. So because I use EVC, which is my 3 time frame template for approaching markets, and then I use the V and the C of the higher time frames, the V and the C, to establish where I am, and then I use the E to enter, we're likely going to be witnessing how using the C and the labels of the C would end up leading us to only trade during that time there. So what I mean by that is if you look at this market from a weekly perspective, we had this nice little run up, then we had this breakdown, and currently we're in a stage 1 of distribution where there's nothing we can do until this price starts to make a move higher. So now I can simply sit back and I can play this forward for however many candles it needs to take to actually start a move. And you can see it doesn't really matter if I start the market a little bit later or now, because it's only going to be in a setup or in an optimal area to move once it starts making a move, which would also correspond to this, proving that we're only trading this once it starts to make a very clear move and starts to align to the bullish side. So this is where we could simply wait, and there's not much to do, you know, other than wait and wait and wait and wait, because everything here, and then all of a sudden, you can see from a stage 1, we are starting to see price create, not really, yeah, I would say create some kind of push. So this is the first area where I would say we saw some kind of accumulation coming into this. Now again, I do the same thing as you saw me do last time, and I would compare this to the US 100 to see where I am. So you can see we already did the markups of this last time. So this is really cool because now you're seeing the same price action orchestrated on another market, on another asset that also would have been showing overall bullishness. So you're learning how, while you be watching this one and this one, you could now use the strength or the lack thereof to be patient on one asset, but execute on another. This is the beauty of learning how to operate within the markets. So again, this is an example where this has been very bullish. Recently, it's been bearish into bullish into bearish into bullish. And IONQ has just been somewhat bearish and most recently went into being bullish. And while this is bullish, this one's also bullish, but you can see IONQ is showing a lot of strength at the moment. So there's an accumulation MB coming up out of this. So we're assuming this should start a daily cycle to the top side. So here we are. Now, when I look at this, I don't see anything that's actually that worthwhile. Right? What we actually have is we have this first little move up. We have kind of a pause here. So this may lead to a little bit of a setup. Let's actually take a look. So here we have your accumulation MB of the validation time frame. And then now we're having the momentum MB1 right here getting created. So again, we can compare it to the US 100 and see where we are here. So the US 100, same thing, is already in a bullish market. It's actually taken out highs. It's moving higher and higher and higher, while IONQ is also somewhat taking out highs moving higher, but this is kind of its first leg. So I'm still not 100% sure here, and probably would not be trading this even though it's setting up quite decently. Let's compare. So yeah, exactly, right? This thing is not really, I don't see the trade. So this actually looks like it might create a trade in a second here, but we'll look at this. Yeah, I mean, this thing's just going up. This thing's kind of pausing. So there's not much strength here. You know, this is just kind of stagnant. There's nothing special about it. That means we could trade it, but I don't really see anything special. And all of a sudden we get a beautiful move higher. So that in itself probably, yep, is clear strength. So as US 100 now kind of slows down, IonQ is showing and proving that new demand is truly coming into it. This is what I would call strength. The market is showing strength, you know, huge volume, huge up day. So this is the start of something potentially important, right? Now, I didn't trade it, right? We can see inside of here, there actually was an opportunity. You had MB1, MB2. This actually gave a phenomenal entry and started moving higher, but that's okay. It doesn't matter if I miss moves because all I do is I wait for my actual rules to get met, okay? And then we get this little pause, and you can see it sells off from the strength right into the rising averages. And again, comparatively, this is now selling off into the rising averages. So now we have strength, plus we're selling off into the rising averages, which is a great start for a potential move. So I would actually use this action here. This, you know, this is very, very nice action for another move higher, because I would assume that this is MMB1 or MMB2. So overall, we are clearly in the beginning of some kind of move, and we can see if this sets up some kind of pause, and it does. This is actually beautiful. We have MB1, MB2 is getting set up. This is more than enough for me to enter. Let me take a look at US 100 and compare some stuff here. So again, strength coming in, same thing happening on IonQ. There's that flush into strength. So this is, I'm more than happy to enter and take on risk right through this high. And we can see if we get tapped in. I'll take a look at the 2-minute for my potential stop placement. This is what I call the E micro system. We'll see. Okay, so it does get tapped in. There you are. So price gets tapped in and instantly pushes higher. We can actually use the 2-minute here just to manage this. Let's take a look. So price pauses, kind of pushes higher. I'd give it one more mini pause. Yeah, this looks fine. I mean, there's no reason I shouldn't be at break even now. So price will be moved to break even here. And just like that, we've taken all our risk off of the table. And this is just a simple question of, does this thing want to make a move now, or is it going to fall down? There we are. So now we're at break even. And again, same thing, right? We either lose nothing or we make a lot. Comes down and actually wicks us out of the move. You can see it takes us out right here and it ends up being a break even move. So that, so it's just a +0 or a 0 break even, whatever you want to call it. The first trade is actually just an easy 0. But now what we have is we still are under this high overall. So this is still part of the setup, and we are creating another potential MB, which means we're holding on to the prior demand. So when I look at this, what I see is I also see this acting as its own double MB. So this is actually still valid for a setup. I'd still be willing to take risk on this, especially since I'm assuming it's showing strength overall. Yep, it's showing overall strength. It's moving in tandem with the market, so IONQ. So I'm more than happy to take another bit of risk on this, and I'll use a 2-minute to basically decide where I'm going to put my stop. Right now, I'd probably have it here. See if we get tapped in. Price kind of plays around. I'd probably throw the stop back here. And looks like it doesn't tap us in. Still looks good. Probably give it a chance to tap me in here. No reason it can't. Probably move my stop up a little bit now like that before it gets tapped in, if it does. Okay, so it taps us in, and once again, same thing happens, right? This ends up tapping us in for this trade. So again, now all we want to do is we want to wait for a reason to break even on this. That's it. So when I look at this, again, just using the 2-minute here, I don't really see a reason to break even yet. Kind of pause to see if it goes higher now. Looks like it's probably just going to be a loss, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so it starts a little bit of a move here. I think if we get another move through this high, I will move to break even. So we'll see if that happens. We'll play it forward a little bit quicker now. Okay, so on this candle here, right there, I would actually break even on this trade. So this, even if it ends up going now, that's okay. This trade would simply end up being a break even, and I'm perfectly fine with that, right? Because again, what I'm doing is I'm executing my risk practices that I know will make me money over time, even if that means I might not get into the trade right now. It's a very important thing to remember. And now we are continuing to build MBs, right, as you can see. But at this point, right, I wasn't able to get positioned. So what I'm going to wait for, hopefully, is a new flush down to the 20, and then a new setup like this. And that's all I can do, right? Because that's what I'm generally looking for with my rules, and this is perfect. So flush is down, it pushes higher, and it actually kind of pauses. We'll see if it pauses a little bit better here. Okay, so it pauses beautifully, right? So what we have now is another little flush, a pause. We can take a look at the daily of it now. Yep, so this looks absolutely great. It's, the daily's actually not perfect. This is not usually what I want to see. It's a little bit harder to enter trades like this. We'll compare it to the NAS, so US 100. So US 100 is also starting a potential very nice move here. It's in a very bullish bias and a bullish context. So everything aligns for an actual trade because of that. And actually because of that, I'll be willing to take some risk on this move right there. Throw the stop under, look at the 2 minute here just for stop placement. Take a look at what's going on here. And just like that, I think I'd have something like this set up. Be happy with an entry. So it comes down, it's still valid for a setup. Probably move my stop like, oops. Probably move my stop somewhere down here. Probably move my stop up here. Again, this is just how I manage some risk on the things that I take. Now let's take a look at the 65 minute. At the time of it setting up, yeah, I think this would still be quite valid. So it looks like I do get tapped in. We'll let it tap me in. There we go. So this would tap me in. And once again, all I'm waiting for now is some proof of strength above this point so I can actually move to break even. Otherwise, it's just a simple loss, just like that. So we'll take this and we will record our loss. Beautiful. 65. And once again, we'll go back to this time frame and we just assume that it's going to go through another flush now. So we just ignore it. We let it do its thing. We can look at the daily here for a second. So yeah, we're just looking for a little bit of a pause on this thing if possible. All right, so it actually does start going without us. That's perfectly fine. That happens. But this is a clear demonstration of strength as US 100. I'm assuming. Actually, it does also make a move. It actually is pausing right now while IONQ is pausing really high up. So yeah, this is strength. So we have a very strengthy market. One that's come up through the screener. We're looking for pauses that are going to be tradable. This thing just takes off. So that's IONQ versus US 100, and you can see the difference is stark, like a very clear difference in terms of strength. So this is just a waiting game for a pause, right? Because again, I can only trade through pauses. And there we go, we actually get one. So this is what I would call MMB2. So there's still very much likely a move inside of this thing if it wants to keep going. The only question is, will the setup come to me? And when I'm actually looking at it right now, this is actually acting like a great setup. So you have this MB1, this MB2 is kind of forming here. I'd be more than happy to take along through this high, throw the stop under, and once again, take a look at the 2 minute here, see if we got a good market. Looks fine. And it looks like it just falls off, nothing there. It just fails down, which is perfectly fine. You can take a look at this here. We're coming down beautifully into the rising averages. That's what we want to see. US 100 is coming down even heavier. So this is actually a pure example of strength again. And yeah, I mean, this is coming down to the rising averages, kind of moving higher. So there's no reason this can't start a little move here. And we'll keep an eye on the 65 minute for a flush into an accumulation setup. That's a hard one to trade, so I'll wait. We get a push up and we get this mini pause. A little bit of an ugly pause, but we'll look at the 2 minute just to take a look at it. I actually think this looks great. This is what I'm used to seeing. So I'll buy stop through the high here, throw the stop under the low, look to take it long. This stop is 0.58, which is higher than the ATR, so I'd actually clean it up a little bit. I like to have 1 ATR or less on average for my stops. So it looks like it's not really doing much. Let's take a look at the 65 minute. Yep, so it's just pausing right now. That's perfectly fine. I'd have the long setup through this high. Still looks good. And you can see this would be an example of where we would miss the entry. We wouldn't get it because it would gap over. So there's no entry here, even though this market looks like it's going to be a great delivering market. So, I didn't really get an entry here. And we simply wait for another potential opportunity. Yeah, so instead you get this pause up here. which could lead to an opportunity. All right, so we can take a look at that. You know, setting up fine, so more than happy to take a long through that high, just like that. 0.5, so we tighten that up a little bit. Yep, looks really good. See if we get tapped in now. So there we are, throw the stop below the low. Probably clear this up a little bit even more now. Get a better stop on this. Wow, okay, so again, all I'm doing is I'm moving the stop in reference to what this kind of micro time frame is doing, and I'm trying to be under 1 ATR, or a little bit under. Usually I don't like to go half, so I'll go back to before this candle, and the ATR before that candle was 0.5, and my stop here would be 0.36. So yeah, I think 0.36 actually does make sense, so that's perfectly fine, and then price taps us in on this day. You can see it just taps us in and then starts to move. And I think on this candle right here, yeah, on this candle for sure, I would be at break even. So again, this is a trade I'd instantly move to break even. There's no reason I shouldn't be at break even. And this thing starts a disgusting move higher. This is already up at around 8 RR. So what I would do in a case like this is I'd look at what would half of the candle mean. That would be about 3.7. So I'd probably throw, I wouldn't actually throw an initial stop here. I would just wait for candle lows to manage my first stop. So there we are. Okay, beautiful. So what I do now is I take a 50% partial right there, just below the candle low. And I just wait and do the same thing again. Throw it behind the candle low. Do the same thing again. Throw it behind the candle low. Do the same thing again. Oh, okay, and we would get stopped out of our first partial right there at around 13.2 R, which would be about 6.64 R. So we have our first partial at plus 6.64. Oh, we'll just make it 6.5 R just to make it fair. Yeah, perfectly fine. About 6.5 R, and we'd leave the stop here. And what I would wait for now, because we're only at MMB2, I'm aware that this could mean that we could go through multiple more legs, right? Is I'm going to try my best to manage with a higher high, higher low. So just overall basic structure, given that the move continues itself, right? So there you go. You have a higher high, a higher low, a higher high. So this is very easy. Move your stop to the low. Higher low, look for a higher high again. Get a higher high. Move the higher. Oh, I'm getting a call here. Christmas Day beer. All right, there we are. We're back. I had to take care of some things. I remember I was doing this video, so we are at management continuation, where all we're doing is we're tracking the higher highs and higher lows of this move, and we're updating the low or the stop loss accordingly to get ourselves out. So we get another higher low, another higher high, but this is all done in one candle, but that doesn't matter. We just move our stop. Higher high, higher low. And we get stopped out of the rest right here at 22.53 RR, which is 11.25 R total. 11.25, there we go. Now, as that happens, it's very likely that we go back into a clear setup. So we have this MMB1, this kind of acts as MMB2, again, sold off into the rising 10, 20, now again, takes off, starts selling off. The weekly, we are still very bullish. Daily, let's look at this. So yeah, there's a ton of strength. You can see same thing, overall bullish context, but breaking down below the 10 and 20, actually sloping down. But I on Q continues to break down to the rising 10 and 20. So that's a very, very strong market. That's showing us more strength. And we're going sideways for the potential MMB3, just like this. Let's go to the 65-minute. Now it looks like I missed this trade, but this looks a little bit ugly. Almost hard to trade, so we'll wait. Let's look at US 100. Okay, so it is showing a lot of strength, which is important to remember. This is still showing a ton of strength. Looking for a little flush out. Okay, it takes off to the top side. Look at the daily. So that's that MMB3 continuation. We're getting another pause, and as that pause comes in, NQ is actually, or US 100 is actually breaking down and going into accumulation. Same thing as last time, assuming the MMB1 from this point and a continuation upwards. So with the overall expectation of continuation, this should continue theoretically creating opportunities. Yeah, showing a lot of strength. So right now, a flush out could lead to a nice entry. Look at the daily. Look for it to come down a little bit. So starts coming down. This is what I would consider probably an MMB3, MMB4, but still looks like an MMB3. It's probably something like this. So we're still good for a trade here. We are a little bit extended into the leg, but we are at a good MMB area. Usually, the best MMB entries are from the first, the second, and very rarely is it really good as you keep going, but everything that's currently being labeled makes a lot of sense, so we'll continue to look for opportunities. So we get this flush out. Looks like it just, you know, it kind of created this MB1, MB2 in here. This is a really hard one to trade. It looks like that would be the correct entry, but I don't really see the opportunity for myself there, so I'll leave this. So it takes off higher. Looks like it might want to flush out again. So again, it's just kind of moving higher with the rising average, but it's not really giving an entry opportunity. So yeah, pausing again. So all this counts as MMB3, but because it's so far, I think we're looking at something like this. And then this is maybe building up 4. Not sure, but this is what it seems like right now. So we'll keep that in mind. And we'll keep watching the 65-minute. Now again, we're getting a breakdown while US 100 kind of breaks up. So there's a little bit of weakness here. You know, we'll keep that in mind. But overall, there's been a lot of strength. So just add this on. And since this breakdown, it hasn't really given any opportunity, so we'll wait. Takes off. Pauses again. So this actually looks really good. I think this looks fine for an opportunity. It's a little bit hard to get, but this looks pretty good. We'll take a look at the 2-minute. There we are. Yeah, overall, so far so good. 1.41 is the ATR, but this is way bigger. So there's not really an opportunity here for me to take yet. Oh, okay. So it looks like it just takes off right through that high. I mean, I don't really see a point where I could take an entry here and throw the stop behind here. You can see it's still bigger than the ATR, so I'd probably ignore this trade. And it's good because it looks like it's going to fail anyway. Okay, let's look at the daily here. Yeah, so it's starting a little move, but it's not really holding itself. So we'll wait. Okay, so it flushes out again. Overall, it has weakness. We'll take a look at US 100 now. US 100 showing some weakness too, which means that IonQ is putting in a little bit of strength actually. It looks like there's nothing for me to take here though. This is like a momentum MB, harder to trade though, so I'd ignore it. Look for a new flush maybe. Okay, so a new flush starts coming in. I'll look at the daily. I'll give it another candle probably. Okay, cool. So we're getting another beautiful pause here. This is all probably MMB4, just kind of going sideways. 65-minute, you know, flushing out. We'll take a look at US 100. US 100 is flushing out as well. Flushed out, came up, flushed out heavily. So this is actually showing quite a bit of strength because of the way that it's flushing out. So we're kind of, you can see we're kind of in overall strength, a little bit of weakness, overall strength. So if this can start setting up trades here, I'll be more than happy to take it. So it falls off, but then it looks like here we built up this MB1, potential MB2. Let's look at the 2-minute. Yeah, more than happy to take this, something along those lines. Yep, looks good. See if we get tapped in. So it looks like it kind of breaks down. Let's look at the 65-minute. Okay, so this still is valid, but I don't like how it's breaking down, so I'll give it a second. Okay, so you're getting a few things here. You have like MB1, MB2. This is setting up beautifully. This looks like a great entry. You also have this MB1, MB2 here. So everything aligns there, but there's really no point to take this if I'm taking this one. I don't really see a reason to split anything. So I think this trade looks pretty good. Let's look at the 2-minute. Yeah, this looks phenomenal. If I threw my stop somewhere here, 1.6, what would this stop be? About 0.97. I think that's a good stop size. Looks good to me. So we'll see if we get tapped in here. Something like this. Maybe a little bit bigger. Sorry guys, very sick today. Okay, so this taps us in. Now we're looking for a reason to break even. Yeah, I mean, this is as clear as day. A reason to break even. I mean, there's nothing else to do here. Go back to the 65. Okay, so we're in this trade now. Okay, starts kind of going higher. We'll look at how much this is here. 1.3, so we'll just wait a little bit. Comes down, starts going up. Perfect. We'll look at what this low puts us at, 3.3. So good, we can start trailing a stop. I'd likely trail my stop just behind this low. This low, oh, nice, this low here. That low here, it's this one right there. You can see it just trailing that low. Yep, looks good. Gonna try, oh, so there we go. So this would stop us out at that low for a gain of 8.93, which is 4.45 or so. So again, we have our first partial at plus 4.45 R. And the next we'll simply use higher highs and higher lows. So we have this higher low right here, off this higher high, higher low, higher high. This potential higher low, that's a higher high. Probably throw my stop down under here. And we get stopped out of the full position right there at 8.07, which is plus 4.03. So the second is plus 4.03. There's not much left to do there, except for potentially get positioned again. But the question now is, where are we in this move? So actually, taking a look at this, it looks like we're at MMB4. This looks like 4. This could still be 4, so it's not necessarily over. This is all kind of acting as MMB4. So at the moment, this could actually present another opportunity. You get a pause on the rising averages. Again, same thing. At the same time, US 100 is actually, oh my God, US 100 is falling off the face of the earth. So here, this went into, we can actually start labeling this further. This went into MMB2. And then on MMB3, this actually just broke straight down. So let's label that MMB2. And then as it began to build this, it actually broke right down through distribution. But again, we assume this distribution is for the purpose of accumulating, especially with the strength of some of the other assets at the moment, and because of the higher time frame context, time frame's overall bullish action. So we're just assuming this is all for the purpose of bullishness, which is great, because this is showing overall strength, and this could actually lead to another opportunity all the way up here. Let's take a look at the 65-minute. So you kind of get this flush to the 20 average. Don't really see an entry though. So again, really hard. This is one of those areas where you have MB1, FF, MB2 as I teach in the mentorship. So if somebody was able to enter this, good for you. Otherwise, you know, there's not really a trade to take here. And yeah, there's just, you know, I would have probably missed that. So we'll wait. Looks like it takes off, pauses, but all the way up here. So now we want to see this flush out, build an MMB1, MMB2. So actually, while this is happening, this is a great FMB1. This could already be the FFMB2. So let's take a look at the 2-minute. Again, just an E micro. And at the moment, I don't really see the entry yet, so I'll wait a little bit. So this is building this overall low right here. So it actually takes out the low. Let's go back to the 65-minute. Let's get rid of this. And very simply, let's go over to US 100. So this is now starting to come up. So is this, this flushed out to the 1020 and started rising higher. Good to see. Ion Q, yeah, very similar, showing overall strength, looks really, really good. Kind of have an MB1 here, nothing else really at the moment. Looks like it's putting in a little bit of a, nope, nothing to do. Okay, looks like it puts in a little bit of a pause right up here. Could very well be an entry. Take a look at the 2-minute for my micro, because I'm just used to doing that now. It actually looks really good. Take a long through the high. Throw the stop under these points. That's 2.12 ATR, and this is a 1.26 R stop. So it looks really good for a trade. Oh, okay, and there we are. So this is an example of a trade that I'd be happy to take. Actually, that's why it's green right now. I'd be very happy to take come Monday or whenever, right? Because right now, this is showing great, great strength. Let's look at the daily. So the daily's in its probably last MMB4, so we're probably looking at one more leg up, which is important because that means we have to manage accordingly. We have to manage into the strength very, very quickly, especially if it goes really quickly, because, well, our money's gonna be made on a quick candle, maybe something like this. On the next candle, and then it'll probably collapse after, right? Probably collapse into some sideways like this. It'd be very hard to trade, but right now it looks really, really good. So, okay. So this is a secondary wrap up of what we did in the last video on XMTR. So XMTR, yeah, we ended up here on the overall strength. We don't have the thing open anymore, so I don't know where it went. But here we are. But this is what we have overall. We again have 5 trades taken total. Only 2 of them were winners. So again, under 50% win rate, so around 35%, especially if we include the previous trades, which I believe on, so this is IonQ. And then on XMTR during that same time, we had a 5 trades, I believe. We had like -1, -1, 0, -1, 0, something like that. I think we had 5 trades, 3 losses, no wins from what I remember. So together we're at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trades with -1, -2, -3, oh sorry, 1, 2, with 2 wins. So only 2 wins out of those 5, 6, 7, out of 9 trades. So again, we're looking at like a 20% win rate or a little bit under, very, very low win rate. We're looking at almost a 50-50 break-even rate and a 50-50 loss rate. So like maybe around 35%, 40%. And we've only taken 2 wins. And yet after everything is said and done, we have a gain of 11 plus 6, which is 17.75, 21, 22.1, 26.13. So overall, we have 26.13 in gains, and that's very conservative. -1, 2, 3, 4. So 22.13 R is what we're looking at in overall gains after we've traded the action on, in this case, 2 of the available markets that were given to us by the screener during this time, comparatively to the overall US 100 as it continued to deliver, as it continued showing bullishness. And actually, funny enough, this is exactly where we said we were going to be. This is what we just labeled. On US 100, you can see my markup on QQQ. It's going to match it almost perfectly because, well, it's similarity in understanding how markets move with repetition, all formulated by the efficiency of a tool that lets you find things a lot better. So overall, we're looking at this right here. We're looking at the MMB deliveries that came and just kept going and looked really, really good. All the way up through most of this move and gave opportunities to get behind it. We're in MMB4 now. I think this is, you know, if this went higher and then paused again right here, I would not trade it anymore because of how many times it would have done it. I think this is going to be like the last chance that this has to make a run. Let's take a look at the 2-minute again. So it looks like it never tapped in, but for some reason it's showing like it has on the daily. Yeah, so it hasn't. So it's just all the way up here. Okay, yeah. So we never got tapped in. You know, this would be literally the entry for tomorrow because today is Christmas, so the market is closed. But this looks really, really good. And just like that, we've taken a number of losses, a good amount of break-evens, only 2 wins, and yet we've proven that we can be up over 22R, which again, at 1% risk is 22% up on the account since the last, whatever, 100 days or so, right? 81 days. So yeah, 3 months, about 11% up if you're 0.5 risk or 22% up if you're 1% risk. And that is phenomenal. And that's 2 examples put together. That's IonQ side by side with XMTR put together because I want to show you guys that profitability comes from following rules, not from one asset or one specific move. It's just simply from following the same move over and over and over again, and that leading to overall profitability. All right, I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.